Ministry of Finance and Economic Planning started implementing gender-responsive budgeting initiative in 2008. The implementation of the GRB in 2008 was in line with the broader objective of promoting gender equality enshrined in the Vision 2020 and Economic Development and Poverty Reduction Strategy. Honorable John Rwangombwa is the Minister of Finance and Economic Planning.
When we talk of gender-responsive budgeting, I want to put it in context. For example, in relation to the Ministry of Finance, it's mainly in the context of our planning. Whatever we're doing in planning, budgeting, and development of this country will relate to our long-term vision, which is Vision 2020. And this long-term vision, we are committed to equitable development of our population, of our people. And one of the key principles of the Vision 2020 is that while we aim to achieve a middle-income country, the people of this country are the main resource that will drive us to that. They are the beneficiaries, but at the end of the day, they are the ones to drive that growth, because we have limited natural resources, and we think in our context as a landlocked country, we can do more in the service sector, really linked to the people, than to think of big industries. So if we are to do that, we have to make sure that every Rwandan has equal opportunity to contribute to that growth. One is to contribute, but also to benefit to that growth. So as we do our planning, we make sure that every Rwandan is given equal opportunity. So that brings me to the gender. So both sexes of the gender are given equal opportunity. When you talk of regions across the country, each region has equal opportunity to contribute, but also to benefit to the growth of this country. So far we have statements accompanying the budget. As we go to Parliament, as we take the budget to Parliament, we have GRB statements that really show what we've done in terms of mainstreaming gender issues within the sector plans of those sectors, and how the budget allocation will really address that.
The Ministry of Gender and Family Promotion plays a big role in GRB, first as a member of the steering committee, then in the monitoring, coordination, and evaluation of the implementation of GRB in sectors and districts. Honorable Jeanne d'Arc Mujawamariya is the Minister of Gender and Family Promotion.
Being a ministry in the Prime Minister's office, it is for us an opportunity to overseeing how others are mainstreaming gender in their different activities. Not only overseeing local government, but we oversee other ministries, how they put gender in their programs, in their policies, to make sure that no sector is left behind without mainstreaming gender. Of course, we coordinate and we monitor. We monitor whether the implementation of those gender-sensitive policies is being made clearly as we wish it to be. Because a policy may be good, gender-sensitive, but its implementation, that is what matters for us. We have a steering committee of GRB, Gender Responsive Budgeting. And on that steering committee, the Minister of Gender is a member. It is like whatever they want to discuss about gender mainstreaming in the budget, even the terms of reference for gender responsive budgeting was developed by Minister of Finance and us. So we were involved in developing those terms of reference. In brief, together we make sure that the budgets for ministries are gender sensitive.
The current GRB program is not the first GRB effort that has happened in Rwanda. While learning from the previous initiative, the current program tries to avoid the weaknesses of the previous ones.
Gender responsive budgeting started way back around 2002 as part of the broader reforms to implement the Vision 2020 of the government. And it was first implemented as a GRB initiative by the Ministry of Gender and Family Promotion. At that time with financial and technical assistance from the DFID, and it was implemented as kind of a project to implement gender mainstreaming in the different government institutions. And at that time it was implemented like in 5 key ministries: Ministry of Education, Ministry of Health, Ministry of Agriculture, Ministry of Local Government, and I think Ministry of Infrastructure. It did very well at the beginning because we had technical assistance from DFID. The experts did train some people and some work was done. But eventually when the project retired in 2004, the work could not move forward, and somehow GRB initiative withered away. And in 2005, 2006, not much was done. But from around 2007, in the Ministry of Finance, we started looking at GRB as an opportunity. And in 2008, we actually started the Gender Responsive Budgeting Program in the Ministry of Finance. And we started it as a program, as a government program, learning from the failures of the past experience, where the project kind of stopped when the support from DFID retired. We thought doing it as a government program would give more sustainability to the GRB intervention. The other programs that are normally heard about are mainly related to advocacy, mainly related to sensitization, making people aware of the different aspects that create gender discrimination, and for us, we also consider those aspects as very good because they influence mindset, they create positive attitudes towards creating gender equality practices. But gender responsive budgeting is different. It moves from the perspective of mindset to actually improving the welfare of the people, because it is about influencing government spending. It's about influencing implementation of government programs in a way that they actually, the spending addresses the different needs of men and women. There are different ways. There are different ways of looking at it. But the good thing with gender responsive budgeting is that it requires a lot of analysis, to make an analysis and understand what are the gender issues, what are the issues that create inequalities in terms of benefiting from public services between men and women, boys and girls. And that analysis actually gives you the practice on the ground. Who are benefiting, who are not benefiting, what is the cause, how can it be addressed, what activities do you need to do to address it, how much money do you allocate to those activities to ensure that you address the inequalities. And by doing that, we have different instruments. And one instrument that we are using today is a gender budget statement, which actually shows the commitment by different government institutions to address gender issues. And in the gender budget statement, you will see the gender issue identified, the activities to do in order to address that issue clearly specified, the output to achieve to demonstrate that you've actually addressed the issue, clearly defined, and the indicators to show that performance is actually being achieved, and the budget. So it is through that gender budget statement that we regularly monitor whether the commitments have been achieved, and you even have to move further and see whether it has impacted on the welfare of the people. We have done a number of things to make sure that GRB gets successful. We have established the institutional mechanism. We have in the Ministry of Finance a core team of experts who have been trained, who support the sectors to make sure that they do the right thing. We have a steering committee that gives orientation to the implementation of the program. In this steering committee, we have different partners, the civil society organizations, the Ministry of Gender, the Gender Monitoring Office, the development partners like UNIFEM, UNCDF, UNFPA, and so many others. So we have established structures that actually help to implement this gender responsive budgeting. And we have done a lot. We have done a lot of sensitization to different government institutions. We have done training. We have provided hands-on support. We go to the sectors and support them to draft the gender budget statements, show them how to do the analysis. And we started with 4 pilot sectors, the key sectors that have a lot of resources allocated and that have impact on welfare of the people: education, health, agriculture, infrastructure.
Agriculture is one of the pilot sectors in which GRB is implemented. Ernest Ruzindaza is the permanent secretary of the Ministry of Agriculture.
We are implementing the One Cow program, and that program is targeting poor families at household level, and most of them are women. You can see that that program has made really a very good impact at household level, because people are themselves saying that the program is increasing their livelihood, the program is increasing the income at household level. So what we do in that program, the community themselves, they choose poor people, and our agency called RARDA, Rwanda Animal Resources Development Authority, train those farmers together with the data centralization, the district and the local community. We train those farmers, and we give them the capacity to hold a cow in their household, and then the cow gives milk and gives manure, and then and that brings a change in the livelihood of the family at household level. So that program is really a success story, and we think that if you have enough capacity, we can do a lot in targeting that program, because that program as well target a lot of women.
In order to fight gender inequalities, the Ministry of Education has offered facilities to young girls to help them pursue their studies uninterrupted. Mrs. Sharon Haba is Permanent Secretary at the Ministry of Education.
In the education system, one of our key objectives is to promote science and technology. And we know that throughout the world, there are fewer women in the area of sciences, but since this is Rwanda's priority number 1, we have sat down and looked at the issues that cause lower numbers to go through the system in science and technology. So one of the things we have done is to find out the reasons why girls are absent from school at a certain time, because we have noted that absenteeism leads to poor results, and then therefore failure and lack of interest in the area of sciences. So one of the reasons identified is that for some girls, especially in poor communities, when they are during the time of menstruation, they miss school. And if, for example, you're taking a mathematics class and you miss part of a chapter, you might get lost forever. And so gradually, cumulatively, that could be a problem. So we have addressed that by providing sanitary towels for girls in schools. And as we roll out the concept of the child-friendly schools, which have girls' corners, then girls have some privacy to access these facilities, and so their hygiene is improved and they're able to remain in school. And that, although that may seem as a very simple thing, it actually can be a serious problem to keep a girl in school throughout the system.
The third sector mainstreaming gender is infrastructure. Yusuf Uwamahoro is the energy sector coordinator at the Ministry of Infrastructure.
Gender is a cross-cutting issue, so we try to make sure that in all subsectors, national policies that we develop, gender is mainstreamed in those policies and also in programs and projects. So when you develop national transport policy and you develop national energy policy, you make sure that actually gender is mainstreamed in those. And when you design your strategies for development of those infrastructure, we develop projects and programs, and then we come to budget. We make sure that actually the budget we put in place actually takes care of gender issues in all our projects. To give us an example of energy project, for instance, if you look at the National Domestic Biogas Program that the Ministry of Infrastructure is trying to propagate or to promote in rural area to those who have 2 cows and above. So that is benefiting to women because mainly, as you know, biogas is used to replace wood fuel. So in rural area, women are the ones to suffer collecting direct wood fuel for cooking, women and the children. So when you have a project like that you budget for and implement, actually helps to promote gender.
Haguruka is an NGO advocating for women's rights. It represents the civil society in GRB steering committee. Mrs. Zaina Nyiramatama is Haguruka representative.
We are involved in providing evidence on what we do relating to gender empowerment, or women's empowerment and gender responsive. And from that perspective, the data or the information that we are providing every year is helping MINECOFIN to plan more funds to respond to these needs related to gender. The issue around search for paternity, which means there's women, they got unwanted children. We do sensitization and encourage them to go for family planning. And also the cases of property rights around the perception of gender equality. So we do awareness around gender equality, and especially we invite men and the community as a large to get right information and to achieve change of mindset around gender equality.
The government of Rwanda implemented GRB being driven by the conviction based on evidence that mainstreaming gender equality is the best way to approach poverty issues by improving growth opportunities.
There are a number of things that demonstrate that we should do gender responsive budgeting. It's good for people because it releases the potential for more people to be involved in the production process. It increases the welfare of the people. By improving production, by involving more people in production, we produce more, and so it's a good thing to do. And one big challenge that we have is about mindset. And we need people to understand that gender responsive budgeting is not giving more money to women or giving 50% budget to women and 50% to men. It's about looking at the different needs of people. We should recognize that the needs of women are different from the needs of men. Boys and girls, they are different. They have different constraints. There are different opportunities. And we need to recognize that. and be able to change our mindset in view of the different advantages that GRB has.
Looking beyond the budget, the government of Rwanda has demonstrated its commitment to gender equality in a range of ways. At central level, 2011-2012 will see gender budget statements become mandatory for all ministries, rather than only for 4 pilot ministries. More remain to be done to have gender mainstreamed in the sustainable framework for both central and local governments to increase awareness, raise and share experience and good practices with the wider public, hoping for more partners to join.